The lone survivor of an onslaught of flesh-possessing spirits holes up in a cabin with a group of strangers while the demons continue their attack. Evil Dead 2 is up next on Inside Movies. Before we get into Evil Dead 2, this episode is brought to you by Fantasy Quest.
Hey, I'm George Michail.
And I'm Andrew Buckley.
We're so excited to tell you about Fantasy Quest.
It's a brand new fantasy series featuring beloved literary worlds and characters that you know and love dearly, except we really twisted them up, turned them on their heads, and even went as far as to kill a lot of them.
Oz and Wonderland are in the midst of a war when a stranger from a distant planet arrives in a world he doesn't comprehend.
Featuring murderous twins Tweedledum and Tweedledee, a bloodthirsty Bambi, a drunk Merlin, the bumbling King of Oz, the Scarecrow, and a brave Tin Man mounted atop a ravenous lion.
Illustrated in beautiful detail by award-winning artist Rags Morales and Haley Renee, Fantasy Quest will take you to places you only think you've visited before.
We have a murder's row of incredible talent for our variant covers, including Ali Garza,
MJ Hiblin,
GMB CHOMICHUK,
Zach Schuster,
Vince L. Tabanis.
And of course, we have covers from our series artists, Rags Morales and Haley Renee, including an exclusive variant that will only be available through this campaign.
We're so excited to bring this project to life, and we hope you really dig it.
So, as always, I am joined by writer-illustrator GMB CHOMICHUK, novelist Andrew Buckley, and the editor-in-chief of Merck Publishing, Murphey. So let's get into it. What's the good? What do we like about Evil Dead 2?
Chainsaw hands, more of the first movie done by more skilled filmmakers and actors. It still has that bottle of effect, that indie vibe. Oh man, so many things. What else do I like about it? The best chin in Hollywood. Right? Like
cheekbones too.
Oh, such cheekbones in this one. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I like how scary this movie is. Like the witch in the basement. Like it freaks me out. Like if you're
Basement Witch is scary. I'm with you, George.
Andrew, you gotta watch these movies in the dark. You know, not on your phone, dialed in, man. Like you can't be.
I didn't watch this on my phone. I watched on my big ass computer screen, sitting here hating every fucking second of it.
Yeah, and you were looking at your phone while you're. That's what I mean. You were distracted. You got to be dialed in, man. Like, because the way that Sam Raimi reveals that the demon is right behind someone, or is coming from under the stairs, or through a window, it got me quite a few times, man. You got to be dialed in to horror.
Before we let Andrew shit on this movie, I want to point out that this is, writers, producers, filmmakers, actors discovering their powers, and that's what we're seeing on screen. And that is why I think Evil Dead 2 is such an important film in the horror sort of canon. Is that it's all of these people who have done other things, and they made Evil Dead 1 and they've done other movies and worked on other stuff, but finding what they were really good at here on screen with one or two takes because they didn't have a lot of budget, right? So just getting it and stitching it together into this film. I saw it when I was probably too young to see it at a birthday party from a kid that shouldn't have had it. And man, yeah. And we watched it, as George says, in the dark.
This is one of those movies. My dad and my brother have these like cult classic movies that they just absolutely love, and I've grown up hearing about them and like seeing them and having them referenced so often that I forget through time that I haven't seen them. I had not seen Evil Dead 2, and I did not realize it until it started. The practical effects and the monsters and all of that, it definitely looks dated, but it still looks cool. Like it gets the point across. The zombie headless girlfriend, like Barbie dancing outside all fucking creepy and shit. Like I loved that. But I think the thing that I liked most about this movie were the scenes where it just went full on like mind fuckery. Like when it's just Ash by himself losing his mind, like especially when like his reflection like starts attacking him, and he's just like, "Oh, you just cut your girlfriend's head off. Doesn't seem fine, does it?" And then just like oh, like that I love like a mental thriller, and this definitely hit those points. And I just like, I don't know if I would call it scary, but it was definitely thrilling.
Yeah, I like the effects in this movie too, man. Like for the 80s, like it's kind of just mind-boggling how they did it. The decapitated head, the way the tree like takes control of the hillbilly lady, and the warning from the archaeologist, and like just the and just all this stuff. Like it's kind of hokey, but it's all like real. I dig it, man. I like what these guys were able to do in that cabin is just amazing.
So this is one of those instances where you guys all really like something, and I really hated it. What did I like about it? It's Bruce Campbell being Bruce Campbell, which I always appreciated a good Bruce Campbelling. But
he's beginning as Bruce Campbell there. That's
yeah,
him.
and I like the creation of Ash as this iconic character. I mean, I'll be straight. I've never been into any of the Evil Deads. I watched this with my first girlfriend, I think. And we watched all 3 of the movies, but when I thought they're all stupid and not scary. I didn't like on the rewatch. I didn't like them. I've stayed away from the remakes that they've just did over the last 5 years. Oh, it's so good,
dude, so good.
But then they've gone like straight up gore, like realistic gore with the new ones, and I don't like those kind of horror movies, so that doesn't appeal either. So yeah, I don't know. This just doesn't sit with me, unfortunately. I got a bunch of bad shit, but we'll save it for the bad.
Ooh, I look forward to it.
I will say, speaking of Bruce Campbell, the zombified version of him, where they just like really lean into his cheekbones and chin, I thought that looked cool. I would love to see. I would love to create that. Like that just seems like a fun like prosthetic to work on from like an arts perspective.
I like just the combination of horror and comedy. Like it's pretty goofy too. I laugh like out loud when he goes to look for the chainsaw, and there's like the chalk outline of where the chainsaw would be. Like that's just so dumb. But and like the absurd amount of blood. Like whenever anybody's like when that guy gets pulled into the basement by the witch, and it's just like like a fire hose of blood like coming out. And
after no blood after he gets stabbed.
Yeah. It's just like lots of slapstick humor, like Greg mentioned with the plates, and when he's got to cut off his hand, and the hands is being like evil, and I like it, man. It's good stuff.
Was him cutting his hand off? Is that a reference to? Is it Thing in Addams Family? Is this the Thing origin story?
No, I like Addams Family. Don't fuck Addams Family up.
I think
Greg.
this is
not
the
okay
Thing
with this.
origin
Nope,
story.
Greg, no.
And so
No,
every
Greg.
time you watch
Bad
Addams
Greg.
Family, I want you to remember and think about Evil Dead 2. From now on, Addams Family is Evil Dead 2 in your mind and heart, Andrew. That is your penance.
I will never think of this movie again after we finish recording this. Like, I'll be done with Evil Dead forever.
Untrue. In fact, if you look behind Andrew on the...
I know, I have a disembodied hand on my shelf. That isn't the point, Greg.
Don't look at me. Look at Andrew. Look at Andrew. Behind him, you see? That's Ash's hand from Evil Dead 2.
That is Thing from the Addams Family, you bastard. How dare you?
Let's get into the bad. What did we not like about Evil Dead 2? Andrew.
Me. Hang on, where's my list? All right, so you said that the effects for this were not that bad. I mean, they're meant to be somewhat hokey because it's a horror comedy, so you expect a certain amount of that looks ridiculous. This was 1987, all right? I mean, yeah, we hadn't got into a lot of the special effects stuff, but that year we had RoboCop, we had Lost Boys, we had Inner Space, which looked a damn sight better than all the effects in this fucking movie. Like, they were just trying to cheap it out, or it was just such a low budget, or they didn't trust Sam Raimi with this. What happened?
Why do you hate independent filmmakers, Andrew? Why do you hate?
I love independent filmmakers.
No, you don't.
I do.
Because you listed a whole bunch of studio pictures, and then you shit on an independent film.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. I don't like independent filmmakers.
I will admit that some of the special effects don't hold up. Especially, yeah, like some of them are great. Like
which ones?
Like the blood effects and the demon face, and the witch.
It's so hard to spray blood. Oh my god, it's so difficult.
But so the ones that I don't like are the stop motion effects, like when the witch's like neck grows long, and yeah, it didn't work for me.
See, the thing is,
Oh,
It's
you
like
bastard.
Okay, so my other negatives are the main one is that outside of Ash, I don't really care at all about these other characters. There's the archaeologist lady and like the two kind of like hillbilly people that give her a ride over there. I don't care at all. And Ash's girlfriend is gone like almost instantly. So it's these people are just kind of like cannon fodder to just be dealt with and and killed off, and it's fine, but I would have rather had more characters that I was rooting for to survive, and then when they don't, it actually means something.
Well, that hits on my big one, which is, his girlfriend dies. We're introduced to this new couple that kind of seems like it's coming out of nowhere. Not to mention, like, why the fuck are they in this cabin if this is like her grandfather's cabin? Like, I'm not even going to get into that part. But they get to the cabin, and then within like 5 minutes, her boyfriend is dead, and it's like, oh, isn't that lucky? Now you have Ash, and Ash is like, great, you're mine now, and she's just like, cool. That was just way too convenient.
but they were both on the rebound. You see, they had both lost their love.
Instantly.
And they just had a like a hole in their hearts, that could be like, I suppose, filled by the head back on the girlfriend's body. But so they were thrown in like Speed, not unlike Speed. The intensity of the relationship really kindled it and forged a fire of passion and B-movie bluster.
But Andrew, you're very intense on like you're not liking this movie, and you've only listed the special effects. What else don't you like?
Oh, you want to list more? Okay, cool. You said like the scare stuff. Even when I watched this back in the day, when I was probably 18 or 19, it wasn't scary then in the dark. It's too ridiculous to be scary. Like, it just does not work on a horror level, and I did find it funny to work on a comedy level, which means it is
Andrew?
nothing movie for me.
Andrew, who hurt you? Who hurt
No
you?
one heard me. Sam Raimi hurt me by making this pile of shit, and then you guys heard me by making me watch it again. That's who hurt me.
That's some cold business.
I can also say that the story structure of this, like, when it doesn't follow a general nice 3x structure, which movies don't have to, but I mean, it has so little else going for it in my brain that I would have at least liked to see a coherent story attached to it. So, didn't like this movie, guys. Didn't like it. Sorry.
Let's get into the skinny. Let's give our final grades for Evil Dead 2. I'll go first. I give it a B+. For me, it's a horror classic. It has some good scares in it, in my opinion. It has some, like, artful, kind of skillful direction and a goofy performance by its star. It's a fun night at the movie.
I will give it 3 out of 5 plates to the face. It is not the greatest horror movie or the greatest horror comedy, but I do think it is an important star by which independent horror films navigate to their futures.
I give this half a boomstick out of 5 because I couldn't even bother being that creative with the score because I hate this pile of crap. Sorry, Sam Raimi.
I'm gonna give it 3 out of 4 strangers that happen into a cabin of horrors. It's pretty good.
Nice. So that's going to do it for another episode of Inside Movies. Make sure you go check out GMB CHOMICHUK's website and order some cool stuff off of there. Until next time, peace.